Hey everybody, Rose Matter here. Welcome to part 4 of my Higurashi When They Cry Minagoroshi Let's Play. Rika just seems to be having a lot of luck in this timeline. She is somewhat convinced Takano and Tomatake that she is in danger and she needs their help. Whether or not they fully believe her doesn't seem to be the case. They think that she might be suffering from this mysterious disease. But they have agreed to help her. So she's got them, she's got some bodyguards that Takano was called upon, and she also has someone I was not expecting to come back in this chapter. Akasaka is back, and he managed to save his wife in this timeline, which is amazing. So he's told her, if you need any help, let me know. He's staying in town for Watanagashi, which is coming up soon, so hopefully with all of these people on her side, Rika will survive this chapter. But there's only one way to find out, and that is to continue on and see what happens next. It was a very humid day. Not even a slight breeze was blowing. It had been an unpleasant summer, one that wasn't only hot, but swelteringly so. There were various articles of clothing hung out to dry in the messy apartment windows, but the lack of wind evoked an impression far removed from coolness. In fact, it only felt more oppressive. There were crooked houses and apartments lying the narrow, twisted road. In addition, there were planters and flower pots whose contents were beginning to rot, as well as bicycles and cars on the sides of the road, making it even more cramped, more oppressive, and all the more sweltering. Nobody who was in this place at this time was visiting it voluntarily. But in spite of what everyone might expect, a single motorcycle came rolling in. The motorcycle stopped in front of a two-story apartment, one that could hardly be called neat, even as flattery. A man, fairly old and wrinkled, stepped off. When a nearby housewife hanging out the laundry noticed him, she called out,
"Onle, konnu zo. Kyou mo o atsui ko tte."
This was the beginning of one of the chapters, wasn't it?
いやー、暑いね。
Maybe?
こんな暑いとゆだっちまっていかなねえよ。いい。
Suddenly, I got goosebumps all over my body. I felt like something bad was about to happen for no reason. Well, I mean, it's Higurashi. It was bound to happen eventually. Everything was going a little bit too well. Everyone gets this feeling in a different way. Some people get a twitch in their eyelids or some kind of movement in their ears. In my case, I get goosebumps. Sadako was supposed to be cooking dinner tonight. We didn't have much inside the refrigerator, so I asked her to go grocery shopping. Oh, is it the uncle has returned? I was just watching TV and relaxing while I waited for her because I'm thinking motorcycle, goosebumps, Sadako. She was usually back by the time my cartoon was over, after which she'd start cooking dinner. But my cartoon was over, the news had started, and Sadako wasn't home yet. Sadako sometimes waited until they had a sale at the store. In that case, she'd usually come home late. That must be what was happening. It was too early for me to start worrying about her. But, I can't explain this feeling. I can't explain it, but I feel extremely worried. Once I started feeling like that, I couldn't just sit in the room and wait for her.
Hanyu? Iru?
I thought she might know where Sadako might be, but she's never around when I need her. Hanyu is not with me 24 hours a day. She sometimes falls asleep, and sometimes she goes out for walks. Though in her case, it's not a walk, but more like a stalk. She follows people around when she finds someone interesting, and she enjoys observing them. Anyway, I had no choice. I'd have to find Sadako on my own. I had a good idea of which stores Sadako goes to. I should check those first. Oh no, we're in Hinamizawa. If I asked people, they'd tell me where she went.
あれ、リカちゃまでねえですかい。
ありがたや、ありがたや。
I'm worried because it could be Sadako is sick, so something might have happened to her, or that might be her uncle in town. Plus, there was that thing at the end of the last chapter, right, with what's her face, Rina, where some people were after her, and I'm assuming that was Sadako's uncle. So maybe he's here for some reason.
ニパー、それより今日さとこが買い物に来なかったですか？
さとこちゃんの顔は見てないね。私がずっとお店番してたから来れば見てるんだけどね。
I didn't even have time to say thanks. I ran to the next store. People were greeting me and waving at me. I'd usually smile and greet them back, but I had no time for that at the moment. Sadako, Sadako, Sadako. I need Sadako in my life. I was able to survive for so long because of her support. I'm worried maybe now that Rika has good luck, maybe something's going to happen to Sadako instead? To kind of balance out the universe? I don't know. Without her, this world would be so empty and boring. Sadako is nonchalant and optimistic, unlike me. I've learned so many things from her over the past 100 years. But I still need to learn more from her.
さとこ、さとこ！
People stared at me as I ran by them, screaming out her name. I didn't care what they thought, though. Sadako, Sadako, Sadako. Why are they looking at me like that? I'm looking for Sadako. Somebody tell me where she is. My heart was convulsing inside my body like a fish out of water. What little stamina I have, I hate my body for being so young.
角のお惣菜屋さんが夕方に売れ残りを安くするでしょう。そこに行ってるかもね。
I went to a few different places, but I still couldn't find her anywhere. The people I talked to gave me advice on where to go, but I couldn't find her in any of the places they suggested. I continued to run looking for her. I continued to run even when I bumped into people.
さあ、どうだろう。夕方は人がたくさん来るから覚えちゃいないかもしらん。
There are only a few places in Hinamizawa where we can go grocery shopping. It shouldn't be that difficult to find her, so why couldn't I? Wow. I tripped on something in the street and fell flat on the ground. I injured my hand on a small rock embedded in the ground. I didn't feel much pain even though I said ouch. It just felt hot as if I'd touch a frying pan. Suddenly, someone handed me a pretty handkerchief.
大丈夫？怪我とかしなかったかな？レナ、さとこを見なかったですか？
Rena was carrying a grocery bag. I've heard that Sadako bumps into Rena often when she goes grocery shopping. They tend to choose the same stores.
さとこちゃんを？今日は見てないよ。さとこちゃんがお買い物の日だったの？そうです。会っていませんですか？わからないな。今日がさとこちゃんのお買い物の日なら絶対にスーパーひなみざわの特売日を逃さないと思うもん。でもレナもスーパーにいたけど会わなかったし。
My brain wasn't getting enough oxygen. It took me a while to understand what Rena was talking about. I understood that Rena didn't see Sadako. But that wasn't the point. They had a huge sale in the market today? There's no way Sadako would miss that sale. But she still didn't see her there? What was that supposed to mean?
何かあったの？さとこちゃん、お財布とか家の鍵でも忘れちゃったかな？
I couldn't find the right words to explain. Should I tell her I feared something bad happened to Sadako, and that's why I was looking for her? You talk to your friends. I thought that was the whole point of this. It's like this is what you have to do. No, I couldn't do that. I couldn't think too deeply about why she hadn't returned home. No, Rika! Talk to your friends!
どうしたの？困ってるなら力になるよ。
That's what Rena said. Rena said, I want to help people. I want to help you guys. Let me know.
話して。
Exactly. I knew she was just trying to help me. I even thought I needed someone to help me just a few moments before. But now that she was here, I had no idea what I was supposed to say. No, that's not it. The truth is, I know. Oh, somehow I know. I wouldn't have to know if I was someone... I wouldn't have to know if I was someone else. But I have to know this. Rika Ferde has to know what's going on. I know it. I remember it. I knew this was coming. I've experienced a world before where Sadako suddenly disappeared. Oh no. While the possibility for that happening is as low as Akasaka showing up in Hinamizawa. Oh no. I don't think that's happened yet, has it? Sadako's never disappeared, as far as I know. It only happened randomly in my other lives. This is not the first time. It happened before, too. I should see it for myself. Oh my gosh, so it's like we have all these good things happening, but then Sadako disappears. It's just like you can't just have something be all good. I needed to see if I'd gotten stuck inside a devastating world again.
力になるから話して。ごめんなさいです。さよなら。あ、リカちゃん。
I started running. I couldn't pretend like I didn't know where she was. Please don't tell me I was blessed only up till this point that I'm about to fall back into my unfortunate fate from here on. I thought this world was different. I thought I could move on to a happy future. Dang, that's kind of what I was hoping. I mean, deep down I had a feeling that the whole chapter wasn't just going to be all happy fun times, but I thought I would be able to defeat my deadly fate in this life. It's just like, I know that the time is running out in terms of chapters. There's one chapter after this. If this isn't the happy one, the next one has to be, or else it just is not going to end well once. And I just want one chapter where things end well. But this was just horrible. It was horrible that this was happening to this world. I was standing in front of the place I hate the most in Hinamizawa. Yes, it's Sadako's real home, the Hojo residence. I'd been living with her since last fall, so this house was empty. In the beginning, she used to come back here to pick up her clothing and other necessities. But once she moved most of her stuff to my house, Sadako stayed away from this place. This was a sad place for Sadako, because all she could remember of it was the horrible time she spent with her uncle and aunt, and the memory of her missing brother Satoshi. That's why she never wanted to come back here. Still gotta figure out what's going on with Satoshi, too. There's never really been a clear answer on that. But that wasn't the reason I hate the house. It's because I know what happens whenever this house becomes an issue in my life. Oh God, please, please bless me with just one more fortune. I closed my eyes and prayed, then I slowly opened them. The window was open on the second floor. I saw a faded curtain swinging inside. Oh no, as soon as I saw that, my knees realized what was going on, even before my mind processed it. In the next moment, I lost strength in my legs and collapsed on the ground. I saw an unfamiliar motorcycle parked by the house. I also saw laundry and a futon hanging outside. I was certain that someone was living here. It was proof someone was living inside this house. Oh, we do know this one. No, we're going back to the saddest chapter again. It's never good when there's someone living inside this house. This was very, very bad. I knew exactly why, but let's hope because of the lessons that the other characters have gotten from the previous timelines, that unlike last time where Sadako kept everything to herself, maybe this time she'll let her friends know what's going on and let herself be saved. I knew exactly why. I knew why, but I felt like I wanted to act like I didn't know. Aww.
Rika? Sadako!
Sadako went outside to take the futon in and noticed me.
Rika?
Sadako looked down and forced herself to smile. I felt so sad. It wasn't just her expression. I could tell that her left cheek was red and swollen. Like, all this happened in the span of, like, what, a couple of hours? The uncle comes back and already he's abusing her. Jesus.
Sadako, こんなとこにいないで、お家へ帰りましょうです。
And now I realize that, like, knowing that Sadako was sick, the way that she was acting in this chapter that focused on her, maybe that can explain more of her behavior. I don't know. I took her hand, but she still looked down without squeezing back.
リカ、私、今日からこっちの家で暮らそうと思いますの。どうしてなのですか？私のおじさんが帰ってきましたの。 それでこっちの家で一緒に暮らそうって話になりまして。聡子はそんなの望んでないはずなのです。意地悪なおじさんなんかと一緒に住んで楽しいはずがないのです。でもどうしようもありませんわ。リカの家へ帰っても連れ戻されるだけですもの。リカに迷惑がかかってしまいますわ。
Aw. She gave up with a sad smile. She looks exactly how she looked 1 year ago in 1982. Her uncle only slapped her face, and she's back to being the Sadako from 1982. The cheerful Sadako I knew until yesterday could no longer be found. I took care of Sadako and tried to heal her wounded heart for over a year. She finally got her smile back. But her uncle took it all away with just one slap to her face. A broken soul can recover over time, but her damaged heart can never be fixed completely. I just took the broken pieces and put them back together. The cracks in her heart will always be there. That's why she wouldn't come with me no matter how hard I tried to pull her hand. She couldn't get over the fear. She knew just how scary her uncle could be. Come on, Keiichi, come on and kill this man. Except I know what happened last time he did that and he went insane. I heard a disgusting voice from inside the house. Sadako stared at the ground. Her shoulders were shaking. Maybe Rika will do this time. She's like, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's like, I'll save my friends from having to do it. I'll kill this man myself. He came out and stood right behind her.
なんでもありませんの。お友達と会っただけですのよ。
したらんどうでもええんね。それよか風呂桶、磨かんかい風呂桶。わしは風呂に入りたいしちゃったな、こら。
Sadako scampered back inside the house like a terrified small animal. I felt devastated as I watched her go.
遊びの約束だったかい。すまんの。ちょいと聡子は家の片付けで忙しいんよ。わしは聡子のおじなんね。ちょっと長いこと出張に出とってん。ようやくひなみ沢に戻ってきたわけなんよ。
Liar. He only showed back up because his lover went missing. In another world, I once let my hatred out on him. Oh. But then he inflicted that anger in equal turn onto Sadako. Okay, so I wonder what happened to Rina. Like, was that Teppei or was that someone else going after her? So I couldn't allow the dark flame burning within my chest to reflect in my eyes. Since I couldn't make myself smile and I couldn't insult him, all I could do was give him a short bow and run away from the scene.
なんね、泣く子も黙るわしのガンにビビってもうたんかいね。
I heard his hideous laughter from behind me. I cried as I ran away. I couldn't stop crying. I thought this was a perfect world up until today. Why was God doing this to me? It was too cruel. But I couldn't give up yet. I couldn't do anything, but I still had hope for this world. She's like, hey, Akasaka, I'm calling in a favor. You're a cop, right? It's like, you can probably hide a murder and not tell anyone. I didn't think the luck I had until yesterday was just a random thing. I went back to my house in a hurry. I needed to make a phone call. I didn't know the number because it was my first time calling the place. I looked inside the phone book and found it easily. I made a call to that number. Is it Mion? Oh, is she? Okay. Damn, she's going like right to the top. There's no hesitation this time because Rika knows what happens the last time when they just stood back and let Sadako get abused. It's like, I know that they tried before and it didn't end well, but I'm hoping this ends up well. I'm hoping that this isn't going to come back and, make things worse. I already knew that Oishi could never save Sadako based on what I've seen in my previous lives. For him, Sadako was only a good way to get at the Sonozaki family. Her uncle is probably his prey in that regard, too. Even if I talked to him about her situation, he would do nothing to save her. The only thing he'd tell me would be to call the Child Consultation Center.
大石、赤坂とお話ししたいのですが、いますですか？
I was joking. I was joking. This is awesome. I mean, I don't think Akasaka's gonna murder Teppei, but I wouldn't be upset if Teppei, went missing or something happened to him.
赤坂さんですか？温泉行ってますよ。和倉温泉。
Wakura. That's not anywhere near here. I thought he was staying here until Watanagashi. Oh no, it's just like all of her, like, all the good things are falling apart.
なんでも温泉宿をやってる親類にご厄介になれるとかだそうで。いやいや、羨ましいことです。え？和倉ですか？
Oh man, she is like, Akasaka, I'm calling in this favor. I don't care if you're with your wife right now.
石川県ですよ。能登半島の。
No way. He told me he was staying here until Watanagashi. I thought he meant he was staying in Hinamizawa. But did he actually mean this area of the country in general?
赤坂と連絡は取れませんですか？
That was a meaningless question. There's no way I could get him to come here while he's enjoying his trip with his wife. Even if I can talk to him on the phone, he'll probably only tell me to call the child consultation center or something.
お泊まりの旅館は聞いてませんしね。ものすごい高級旅館だって言ってたから、多分某有名なあそこだろうなとは思うんですがね。まあ最近の宿はガードが硬いから部屋番号も知ってないと繋いでくれませんしね。
わかりました。でも赤坂は綿流しのお祭りに来るとは言ってませんでしたか？
そうです。こちらへは能登への行きと帰りに滞在されるんですよ。だから先日も一泊されてくつろがれた後、すぐ立たれました。だから綿流しの直前にまたこちらへ戻ってきて滞在されると思います。
Alright, so hope is not lost yet.
あなたにお土産を買ってくると言ってましたよ。
How terrible. I thought it was too good to be true. I knew it was kind of strange for him to stay in a boring place like this. My luck seems to be turning. This might not be a surprise, though. Just like I can roll a 6 3 times in a row, I can roll a 1 3 times in a row, too. Happy things and unhappy things can happen with equal probability.
もしもし、何か伝言があるなら会った時に伝えておきますよ。
I looked at the calendar on the wall. I didn't know when he was coming back, but I was certain he wouldn't be for at least one more week. Oh, I thought Watanagashi was happening a lot sooner than that. I thought back to the past to try and remember what happened. That guy will break Sadako apart in 1 week. I couldn't wait that long. I had to give up on seeking help from Akasaka. Well, that's okay. I still had one more option. One more person I can rely on.
いえ、いなければいいのです。
That's such a bummer that the Akasaka was a swerve. We thought like, all right, awesome. You know, he's going to be able to do good. I mean, he can still hopefully save Rika, but I care about Sadako right now. That's my concern.
ありがとうですよ、ニパー。
Oh, the sad Nipa. I hung up the phone after thanking him. I couldn't make a phone call to the next person. I'd have to talk to him in person. Oh, Keiichi. I put my shoes on and headed to... Oh, Erie, okay. Put my shoes on and headed to the Erie clinic. Well, she knows what happened to Keiichi in previous life. She's like, I don't want to get him involved with the uncle. She probably wants to keep him in the dark about it because she knows he'll kill him. The clinic's hours were over for the day. There was usually no one here after that. Oh, that's right, because Erie will do whatever he can to help Sadako. However, since Tomitake was here, they should still be inside the building for a meeting. They had to be there. The front door of the clinic was locked, as I expected. I went around to the back door and rang the bell. The whole clinic is nervous when Tomitake is around. They usually ignore visitors, but I'm special.
どうしましたか？緊急の要件と聞きました。
私まで用とあっては穏やかな話ではなさそうね。
Erie and Takano showed up soon after I was taken to the visitors' room. If Rika Furude has an emergency, then it's a priority for these two people. I'm the most important person in this village.
ひょっとして誰かに狙われているという。
あなたの近辺は常時山犬の中でも特に優秀な連中が警護してくれているわ。あなたとあの日した約束をちゃんと守っているわよ。
I had no doubt about that. They saved me right away when we had that confrontation with those 3 delinquents the other day.
いえ、そうではないのです。お願いがあるのです。実は聡子の危機を救ってあげてほしいのです。
聡子ちゃんに何かあったんですか？
Eri doesn't have that much power alone, even if he really wants to save her. But Takano controls the mountain dog, so she does have that power. I want to know how this nurse has control over this, like, elite group of bodyguards. Like, she's got more power than I thought. In my previous lives, I was never able to get help from the mountain dogs because I wasn't on good terms with Takano. But this world is different. Like, I knew there was something more to her, but this I'm very curious about. I have a better relationship with her in this life, and she even kept the promise she made. I trust their ability completely now.
あの北条哲平さんがですか？
Yeah, just have the mountain dogs come over, pay him a visit, rough him around a little bit, and be like, get out of town, or else bad things are gonna happen to you.
なんてことでしょう。
It was mainly Sadako's aunt who was abusing her last year, but Eri knows that her uncle was violent with her too. I told them that Sadako had gone back to the same condition she was in the previous year.
このままではいつ何があるのかわかりませんです。聡子を助け出すために力を貸してほしいのです。
Eri seemed to want to do something for her, but he didn't know exactly what to do.
こういうのはどうすればいいんでしょう。やはり警察に相談した方がいいでしょうか。
さてどうかしら。現時点では何も起きていないわけでしょう。
そんなのは時間の問題なのです。このままでは大変なことになってしまうのです。
It must be so frustrating for Rika to know what's going to happen, but she can't tell them why because they're not going to believe her. I hate to say that it's only a matter of time. I knew how she was going to get abused and how she was going to end up. I've seen it in the past. I really wanted to tell them about it. But I couldn't do that. I'm afraid to know what that implies because when we saw Sadako in that chapter, like, Keiichi had killed Teppei? Or, well, I mean, the jury's still out on that. I don't know 100% what happened. But, I'm trying to think what happened. Like, she got mad because Rika ended up dead. And then she thought Keiichi did it. And then Keiichi fell off that bridge and he woke up. And that was when that, like, disaster happened. So, in this timeline, if Keiichi doesn't step in and kill Teppei, what happens to Sadako? I don't know if I want to know. As it hasn't happened in this world yet, they just think I was imagining it.
多分こういうのはまず沖宮の生活相談所に訴えるのが先じゃないかしら。
そういえば以前聡子ちゃんが児童相談所に虚偽の通報をしたなんてことがありましたね。ちゃんと話を聞いてくれるといいのですが。
The answer is no. My friends contacted the Child Consultation Center several times in the past, but Sadako always refuses their help. She claims she isn't being abused. The Sadako from 1983 might have asked for their help, but currently she was the Sadako from 1982. For her, living with her uncle reminds her of the time when Satoshi was around. She feels like Satoshi will come back if she can live strongly without always relying on her brother. Even if the Child Consultation Center were to take the case seriously, it's just too late. I tried to remember. In the most recent world I experienced, it only took a few days after Sadako was kidnapped by her uncle. Oh. It only took a few days for him to tear her heart apart. We had no time to waste. We needed to take action quickly. Okay, when she says kidnap, she means like basically holding her hostage in the house. Like, I assume by kidnap, like he took her away.
聡子ちゃん自身が助けを求めてくれないことには助けようがないのが悔しいです。
入江先生の方から警察やお役所に連絡することもできるとは思うけど、気の毒とは思うけど。
違うのです。高野の力で聡子を助け出してほしいのです。
Eri and Takano looked shocked and both went quiet. They didn't expect me to seek help from Takano.
それは強硬的な手段に訴えろと
Hell
い
yeah.
うことですか。
Hell yeah.
僕はそういうお願いをしに、今日そうでなければこんな時間に押しかけたりしませんです。
お気持ちはわかります。ですが
入江、聡子を大事に思うなら、どうか一生のお願いなのです。聡子を助けてくださいなのです。聡子は、あと何日もしないうちに、本当にひどいことになってしまいます。それは、決まっていることなのです。もうしばらく様子を見てみようでは、見殺しにするのと全く同じなのです。入江は、去年の聡子をもう忘れてしまったのですか？もうそうなっているのです。今この瞬間にも。そして、あと数日で取り返しのつかないことになってしまうのです。
All I could do was stare at him. Believing that Eri could see the future only I knew, the tragic end awaiting Sadako reflected in my eyes. Eri remained silent for too long a time to call it brief. Someone trying to think of some excuse to avoid the issue wouldn't go silent that long. He was recalling Sadako's terrible state last year, and seriously considering if my plea was as urgent as I made it out to be. I know he really cares about her. That's why I need his help.
どうしようかしらね。
Eri nodded and looked up. I guess he finally came to a conclusion. I just hope it's a positive one. Fuck him up! Fuck up, Tepe. Do
高
it.
野さん、
Do it.
リカちゃんの頼みを
Do
聞い
it.
てあげてください。
Yes.
去年、聡子ちゃんに何の手も差し伸べられなかった無力さに悩んだことがあります。
I'm gonna try not to be too, hopeful, but this is more positive. This is something. Something's happening.
これは、その時傍観して手を尽くさなかった私が罪を滅ぼす唯一のチャンスだと思います。
しかし、そうはおっしゃいますけれど。
Takano didn't think Eri would make that decision. She seemed shocked to hear his response.
当施設の責任者として正式に高野さんにお願いしたいと思います。聡子ちゃんをどうか助けてあげてください。
入江先生、助けるという言葉がどういう意味か少し分かりかねます。どうか落ち着いてください。
聡子ちゃんは我々にとって欠かすことのできない存在です。これまでも、そしてこれからも我々の研究に最大限貢献するでしょう。本件は高野さんの職務に含まれるものとお察しします。
Eri continued, though Takano tried to persuade him.
所長、入江京介としてお願いいたします。高野さん、どうか聡子ちゃんを救ってください。
I stared into Takano's eyes together with him.
高野も聡子と仲良しだったはずです。どうか聡子の友人として助けてあげてくださいです。
助けてくださいという言い方がお二人とも実に偽善的ね。
You're not telling me to kidnap her and lock her up somewhere safe. You want me to help her so she can have a normal, happy life.
それはつまり、おじの方を何とかせよというご命令ですわよね。
I mean, I wouldn't shed any tears if he died, but why? Who says you have to kill him? Just rough him up a little bit and scare him, get him out of town.
卑怯な言い方をすれば、妖精に対しどう対処するかを決定する権限が高野さんにあります。でもそれが卑怯ならば、私
Damn,
が
Eri.
はっきりそれを口にしても構いません。
Damn, you just shot up several, several levels in my opinion. You're cool with me now.
入江先生、いえ、入江所長、そのご命令を実行すれば、私は無論、そして入江所長も責任を問われることになりますが、その覚悟は終わりですか？
I looked at his face. Unlike me, Eri had many things to lose. I knew that Takano's words will shake him emotionally. However, Eri was determined.
ええ、構いません。
Damn, Eri, sweet, awesome.
申し開きをする場へ引き出されても、自身の心を裏切るよりはるかにマシです。
左門がどういうものかもご存じないのに、大した虚勢だことで。
高野さんが上手にやってくだされば、東京に知られずに済みます。それで誰もが円満に決着できませんか？
リスクばかりで見返りのない仕事ね。
高野が望むなら神社の宝物を他にもたくさん見せてあげますです。もう見せるのを意地悪したりしないです。だから今回だけ助けてほしいのです。
The risk she's taking is larger than the reward I'm offering. But that's about the only thing I can offer her. I don't care about the traditions of the Ferde Shrine as long as I can save my friend from her suffering.
わかりました。これじゃ私が悪者みたいだものね。
She forced a smile and accepted the favor I asked her for. I love her being like, I don't want to be the bad guy. Imply like her not killing someone would make her the bad guy, but in this case, I agree with that because Tepe is just a garbage human being who offers nothing of substance to the world and, in fact, takes away joy from the world, and therefore, I'm okay with him just not being around.
ありがとう、高野さん。
どういう風に助けるかは一任いただきます。具体的なプランは後でお好みと相談します。
後ではダメです。今でないとダメなのです。
She promised to save Sadako, but she still wasn't motivated for it. It'd be too late if she didn't do something right now. I tried to make Takano understand that this is an urgent matter.
そうですね。リカちゃんも、そして私も、今この場でしっかり納得のいく決着がつくことを願っています。
I love how on board Eri was and is like right away pretty much.
こんな時間にせかして申し訳ありませんが、どうかお願いできませんか。
二人ともさとこちゃんのこととなると目の色が違うんだから。わかりました。少し待たせるかもしれませんがお待ちください。
無理を聞いてくれてありがとう。
いいえいいえ、私の給与査定者の頼みですもの。笑顔でお引き受けいたしますわ。リカちゃんはさっきの約束絶対に忘れないでよ。
きっとなのです。神社に来た時はおまんじゅうとお茶もつけますのです。
Takano smiled slightly and left the room. Once we finally heard her footsteps fade away, the tension in the room dissolved. Eri offered me something to drink, but I refused. He must have thought everything was taken care of, but I couldn't relax until Sadako was physically returned to me.
いりえ、さとこですが、お薬とかは大丈夫なのですか？おじはさとこが逃げ出すと思って家から出さないと思いますから、もうここへ来ることはできないと思います。
幸いなことに先週まとめて針と薬を渡してあります。ですのでしばらくは問題ないでしょう。ただ強い精神負担は薬でも抑えきれません。少しずつ追い詰められ、いつか取り返しのつかないことになるでしょう。
そのいつかというのはほんの数日後の話なのです。
Takano hadn't come back yet. I thought it would be bad news if she came back too early, but I started feeling nervous after she had taken so long. Eri insisted I go home because it was getting very late. I couldn't go home and relax, however, until I heard from her that everything was taken care of. I had to wait for her to come back. I needed to deal with this tension until then. Over an hour later, Takano finally returned.
お待たせ。
ああ、いかがでしたか。
Uh-oh, she was looking for the right words. I got a very bad feeling from her reaction alone.
残念だけど簡単にいかなくなったわ。
どうしてですか。
つい最近沖宮で殺人事件があったらしいの。その事件に何らかの関与があると疑って北条哲平を警察がマークしてるらしいわね。
I wonder if the murder case... Well, they say not too long ago. I wonder if that's Rina?
事件？何ですかそれは。
間宮とかいう女が、
yeah.
園崎家の上納金に手を出して見せしめに殺されたとかなんとかで、警察が北条家と園崎家の関係に慎重になったらしいのよ。その女はどうも北条哲平と実婚らしい。 綿流しも近いしね。お社様のたたりの5年目をなんとか阻止したい警察が、北条哲平が今年の犠牲者じゃないかとマークして釣り糸を垂らしてるって話みたい。
釣り糸って何なんですか？
北条哲平をマークしてれば、お社様のたたりの真犯人を釣り上げられると睨んでるのよ。
なんてことだ。では
リカちゃん、本当に申し訳ないんだけど、
That's what I get for getting my hopes up.
警察のマークが外れるまで山犬には手の出しようがない。
そんな、山犬の方ならもっと困難な任務でもこなせるでしょうに。
それは入念な準備と計画に基づき、しかるべき機を見ての話です。通常は長い監視期間を設け、その上でタイミングを測ります。
I mean, the fact that, like, Takano has these assassins, essentially, you know, at her beck and call, I'm just, once again, why? Why does a nurse in a small town have this power?
同等の任務なら、半年から1年をかけるところです。
I mean, obviously there's more to it than that because, like, they have connections to Tokyo, and they're working on this medication that apparently is very important, and the fact that they talk about the Erie Clinic is far too big and fancy for such a small town. So obviously there's some money behind this, there's a reason, but I'm waiting for it all to come together.
今更言うことではありませんが、私たちは決して日の当たるところへ出ることができない存在です。日の元へ出たならば灰になる存在なのです。だからマークされ眩しく照らし出された今の状態では近づくことすらできない。
I hate to say it, but like the first thing that she said is just kidnap Sadako and just keep her safe somewhere for a while until they can take care of Teppei.
ではいつならその木だと言うんですか？
最も早くて綿流しの後ね。多分綿流しが終われば警察もマークを解くかもしれない。
There we go, just kidnap kidnap Sadako. What is it? They said 2 weeks, the Watanagashi festival? Or a week? Just keep her somewhere safe until then. Off them after the festival and everything will be fine. But that would be too late. She's saying it'd be after Watanagashi. I didn't even know if there was a day, if that was a day after or a year after. She also said it usually takes at least 6 months to prepare this kind of mission. That's too long. I thought this world was different. But that hope was slipping through my fingers.
ではどうすれば里子ちゃんを救えると言うんですか？
日の当たる世界では日の当たる世界のルールで解決するのが筋かと思います。例えば警察へ相談する、児童相談所に相談する、差し当たっては学校、警察、あるいは
それは何度もやったけど
Oh.
無駄だった。
Oh, it slipped out. Eri and Takano were surprised. They had never expected me to raise my voice. In fact, I didn't think myself that I would react this way. But I couldn't keep my emotions in check after Takano suggested all those meaningless solutions.
私はお前たちにずっと協力してきた。何の見返りも求めず、ただただこの身を捧げて協力してきた。それなのにどうして里子の一人だけが救えないというのか。あれだけの力を持ちながらどうして里子を救うことにのみ臆病なのか。何の力にもならない警察や役所、そして利用するだけして何も助けてくれないお前たち。もういい、もういい。私はよくわかった。この世界が袋小路だということがよくわかった。もうお前たちには興味ない。この世界にも未練はない。
No, with this, she's gonna lose the support. She's gonna lose. I mean, like you said, she doesn't care, but. Oh boy. She's gonna lose Takano's, her influence and protection.
そうさ。あれだけの幸運に恵まれても。そうさ。またいつもの運命。お前は山奥で焼かれて死ね。
Oh.
お前は睡眠薬で自ら死ね。そして私は当然のようにまた死のう。どういう殺され方をするのか未だに知らず命を散らそう。ここは運命の袋小路。私は生まれた時から殺されるために生かされている。
みんな死ね死ね、みんな死ね。どうせ終わる世界なんだ。消えてしまえ。
Damn, that's the most emotion I've ever seen out of Rika. I can't put words to my emotions anymore, and I started to cry. I was so lucky up until yesterday. I had so much hope in my heart, but it had all been for nothing. It felt like everything was falling apart. I've lived for more than 100 years. I've lived longer than a normal human lifetime. I thought I was blessed with good fortune for the first time in my life. This would never happen to me again. I thought a miracle had occurred, but everything was shattered. I cried and cursed this world. I needed to give up on my life as soon as possible. Sadako would be waiting for me with a smile in my next one. I wanted to go see her. But what would happen to Sadako in this world? What would happen if I abandoned her? Rika, if you don't care, kill Teppei! Kill Teppei! I didn't know, and I didn't care. Sadako, 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 Sadako. I'm a witch who has lived for 100 years. But I still couldn't rid myself of the human emotions in my heart. I didn't get anything to eat because Sadako was supposed to be making dinner tonight. But I didn't have an appetite anyway, so I figured I should just go to bed. I still had to make lunch for the next day, though. Sadako might come to school tomorrow. I rinsed the rice, hoping I wouldn't have to waste the lunch I was making for the two of us. I had to stop thinking like that. I already knew it was a waste to make her lunch. I already knew Sadako wasn't coming to school ever again. I felt so miserable while rinsing the rice. The tears started dropping into it as I thought about her. Why was this happening in this world? I thought everything changed when Keiichi gave that doll to Mion. In that world, Mion pretended to be her sister for a week and got closer to Keiichi. But that wasn't happening this time. I thought we would be having a good time until the festival. Huh? That's odd. Wasn't that club activity 2 weeks before Watanagashi? I'd realized something. The club activity was exactly the same, but it happened 1 week earlier than in the world I knew of. It was 1 week earlier than in my previous life. I get it now. I thought I was familiar with this world, but it was actually a different one where events are all mixed up. That means that even though Keiichi gave the doll to Mion, that didn't solve everything. I thought I was getting lucky. I was confident that everything was going to be okay. I stopped making an effort. I knew that there was a possibility that Sadako's uncle was coming back. But I let her go do the grocery shopping. I would have been more careful and kept her home if I knew he was coming back to get her. I should be careful in my next life. But there wouldn't be a next life that was so fortunate. I didn't get lucky that often. Even if I locked Sadako inside the closet, it would be over if Rena's father messed up something, or if Keiichi lost his mind. I have to clear up everything that's not within my reach, and I also have to make the best effort I can. Without that, I can't overcome the fate of 1983. In this life, I may be able to overcome my deadly fate with Takano's help. But Sadako will not be there in my future. That defeats the whole purpose. My goal is to survive this year while laughing with my best friends. I don't want to sacrifice Sadako in order to survive. I don't want to live in a world without her. I was blessed with all these fortunes, but I still couldn't defeat my destiny. I ruined everything because I stopped working so hard. I will never again have a lucky life like this. I lost my first and only chance. And the whole time, where has Hanyu been? She's just gone. I cried and scratched at the floor. I didn't know if I should curse my fate or curse myself for not putting forth enough effort. And there she is. Before I realized it, Hanyu was standing in front of me. I didn't know how long she had been there. She just stared down at me with a look of pity on her face.
Hanyu, あんたの言いたいことは分かってる。だから運命に期待するなと言った。でし。期待するななんて酷な話よ。あれだけ全てに恵まれた。サイコロを振る前から6が出ると確信できる世界なんて、あれだけの勢いがあれば、それでもあんたは あのおもちゃ屋の時から期待しすぎるなと。
She probably felt something strange at the toy store that day. She realized that the date was 1 week off and this was not the same old world that I knew. She'd realized early on that I shouldn't be too excited about this life.
僕もリカと一緒にいて短くないのです。だからリカに聞かれると思って先に言いますです。僕にも今日の運命など分かりませんでしたです。ただ僕から助言できるのはただ一つ。この世の運命なんて秋の空より気まぐれで一喜一憂するにも当たらない祭事に過ぎないということなのです。
There are 6 sides on a die. That's the reality of it, and it doesn't mean that the 6 is the best number either. I should just take any number that I roll. I shouldn't be disappointed if I roll a 1 a few times in a row. It's pathetic how I thought rolling a 6 was the best result you could obtain.
100年ちょいを生きるくらいじゃそこまで悟るなんて難しいわね。
でもリカ、僕も何度か言いましたが、今回の世界は奇跡ではありませんです。我慢強く待てばきっとまた巡ってくる世界なのです。
我慢強く待てばってそれは何十年後何百年後の話なの。もう私たちには力は残っていない。多分再び世界をやり直しても昭和58年の6月より前へは戻れない。それどころか戻れる時間はどんどん短くなっていく。そんな短い日々を再び奇跡が起こるまでずっとずっと繰り返せというの。数年を繰り返す世界ですら狂ってしまいそうになるというのに、たった 1,2 週間の世界を再び奇跡が起こるまで永遠に生き続けろというの。無理よ、無理無理、絶対無理。
I was betting on this world. I bet all my coins on this one world. And I lost. I lost all my coins to this fate. I have no more coins left in my heart. These coins are known as hope. I have no coins left to hope for my dreams to come true.
リカ。
I lay on the floor as if I collapsed. The floor should have been cold, but I didn't feel anything.
これが希望をすべて打ち砕かれるということね。
I always thought people could survive as long as they had some bread and water, but that's not right. People can't live without hope. People can survive because they believe that something good will happen to them eventually as long as they keep on living. But that's just for normal people who don't know what awaits them in their future. There is no such hope for a witch like me.
もう何もかもがどうでもいい。この世界だけじゃない。これからの世界もすべてどうでもいい。このまま灰になってしまえたら。
リカ、そんなことを言ってはダメなのです。リカ。リカ。
Hanyu's voice gradually fades away. I slowly lost my senses as I lay down on the kitchen floor and let myself sink into the darkness. Oh, damn. Man. I didn't think it was all gonna come crashing down so quickly. In the back of my head, I knew something bad was gonna happen, but... I dragged my body to school hoping that Sadako might be there. But, just as I expected, there was no one sitting in her seat. I felt all the more devastated just seeing it empty. I had nothing left to bet on. All I could do was get hurt and suffer devastation. Blood flowed from my broken heart and found its way through my eyes in the form of tears.
フルデさん、どうしましたか？今日は北条さんはお休みですか？
The whole class was wondering why I came in late today and why Sadako wasn't with me. But even if I felt sympathy from everyone's eyes on me, I didn't feel any promise from them. No one here was able to save Sadako. No one could save her. Why should I have to keep smiling at all to these useless people? This world is finished anyway. If I leave matters alone, then a few days after the Watanagashi festival, my movie reel will be cut as though I'm murdered like usual, and I'll return to the beginning of this month again. And so I'll continue to live forever in June 1983. Trapped here. Even death won't set me free from that prison.
フルデさん、何かあったなら話してください。王女さんは今日はどうしたんですか？風邪でお休みですか？うるさいな。
Oh, she's just gonna be like, wow, yep, no shit's given. The whole class gasped. No one expected Rika Furde to talk like that. She's gonna drop the cutesy voice, too. I myself made such blunt statements a few times in several past worlds, but it was always the first time anyone in that world heard anything like that. That must have been very easy for them, and I envied it.
フルデさん。
Chie was standing there dumbfounded. I stood up from my seat. If Sadako wasn't around, I didn't want to be locked up inside of this humid place.
帰るわ。
I'm not coming here anymore. Goodbye. I felt like saying something like that. However, I retained the small hope that Sadako might go to school the next day, so I kept it to myself. However, Chie wouldn't let me go. She grabbed me by the arm and dragged me to the teacher's office instead. Chie told me to take a seat on the couch by the principal's office. She had no right to tell me what to do. She's probably like, listen, young lady, because she's like 100 years old in her mind, and she... I could just escape through the open window. As I didn't have that kind of energy, however, I sat on the couch as she told me to. I realized then I didn't even have the energy to be rebellious. Maybe Sadako felt the same. She lost the energy to rebel, and so she was simply obeying her uncle.
フルデさん、何があったか話してください。先生はきっと力になれますよ。
Chie spoke to me, but I already knew her words were empty. All she would do was call the child consultation center. She wouldn't go to the Hojo residence and pull Sadako out of there. So there was no point in even discussing the topic with her. If I told her, she wouldn't keep it to herself. And shortly, everyone would know about what was happening with Sadako. That would only result in chaos. If they called the child consultation center, the staff from there would go and visit Sadako. Her uncle would deny the abuse, and Sadako would also deny it because of the guilt she feels over Satoshi leaving. Shortly after, they'll find out about the false report Sadako made before, and they'll decide not to proceed any further. Her uncle will allow Sadako to go to school for a few days, but his abuse will get worse because he'll think she's the one who called the child consultation center. He'll do horrible things to her just like her aunt did last year. Calling the child consultation center will not help Sadako. It will instead put her in an even worse situation. It's better not to notify them at all. But if we don't report it, then how is this world supposed to improve? No, nothing is going to change. There's nothing that can be done once this unfortunate fate overtakes Sadako.
王女さんのおじさんが？それは本当ですか？
Oh, but she did tell her. She's like, it doesn't matter. I had somehow answered all of Chie's questions without noticing. I knew that nothing would change whether I spoke to her or not. So I just told her everything, because I had no energy to rebel.
だいたい状況はわかりました。大変なことになりましたね。で、そこまで知って、あなたは何ができるの？
Chie answered right away without faltering, already used to my spiteful tone.
今日夕方に家庭訪問に行ってみます。まずはさとこちゃんに会って事情を聞いてみます。それで問題があるようならば児童相談所に相談するって言うんでしょ。さとこは過去に嘘の通報をした記録が残ってると思うからね。虐待の確たる証拠がないと動いてくれないわ。
She's in a predicament because as a teacher, she has to do that. She has to call if she suspects abuse. I don't know if that was a thing in the 80s in Japan like it is now, where if you are, working with children, I can't remember what the term is, but you have to call. You have to notify someone.
聡子が殺されるまで。そうすると相談所も学校もこう言うの。いじめの兆候は全くなかった。普段は明るくて全く予見できなかったって。
Oh damn, so Sadako
誰かが用意してくれたコメントを読み上げるみたいに
in some of
同
the
じことを
timelines?
言うのよね。本当にバカばっかね。
そこはきっと相談所の人が何とかしてくれると思います。私も北条さんの窮状をしっかり訴えます。
You've done the same in previous lives too. I wasn't denying her passion, but I couldn't say there was no meaning to. But I couldn't say there was meaning to it. The problem wasn't with Chie. The problem was with them. No matter how hard Chie tried to seek help from child services, it meant nothing as long as they held biased notions about Sadako.
そんなの証拠があるかどうかなんて関係ないじゃないですか。
Yes, we've got Spitfire Shion on Sadako's side this time. This is something that Rika has not had in previous lives. Hell yeah, I suddenly heard a voice from the hallway. And Shion and Mion, I mean Shion not so much because she's kind of the outcast of the Sonozakis, but the Sonozakis, come on man, use that power. Yes, maybe this will be the glimmer of hope, that maybe we'll get Rika back into believing that something might be different. It was Shion's voice. Chie shouted, "Who's there?" And I heard Mion gasping, "Crap!" They must have been listening to our conversation. They were having a quiet discussion outside the door, but Shion accidentally raised her voice. And this time, in this timeline, they are more on board with, like, we need to do something, we need to believe in our friends, and they're not just going to stand by and let things happen. She gets so violent sometimes. 4 people entered into the room from the hallway. Mion, Shion, Keiichi, and Rena.
自習だと言ったはずですよ。委員長は皆さんを連れて教室に戻りなさい。そんな場合じゃないです。聡子に何かあったら先生、どう責任を取るつもりなんですか？取れないでしょ？
Shion's like, I'll fucking kill him myself. I've done it in previous lives. I've plenty of times. I'm a veteran.
ひよってる場合じゃないです。すぐに行動を起こさなきゃダメです。お姉のバカとかはちゃんとした証拠がないとむしろ事態を悪化させかねないとか言ってますけど、そんな証拠が残った後じゃ遅いんです。ミオンは聡子を見殺しにする気？
This is so weird to see Shion defending Sadako.
そこまでは言ってないよ。さっきも言ったように、聡子には過去に沖宮の相談所に嘘の通報電話をした経験があって、
Okay.
それ以来マークされてるんだよ。
So Mion's acting the same way that she did last time, where she's like, we want to help, but we don't know what to do. We tried calling before and nothing happened. And Shion's like, fuck that. Like, we've got a wild card. We've got a joker right now. She's gonna make things happen.
しっかりした証拠がなければ、必ず訪問調査だけして様子見ってことになる。それはどういうことか考えなよ。おじの怒りに油を注ぐだけ。聡子を余計追い詰めるだけなんだよ。
くそ、なんだよそれはよ。何かある前に手を施すのが救うってことだろ。聡子に何かあるまで放置しろってのか。
みんな落ち着いて。私もしーちゃんや圭一くんと同じ意見。何かあるまで様子を見ようなんてのは絶対思わない。なら何ができるのかを考えなくちゃ。
何かってなんだ。児童相談所に相談することだろ。絶対に助けてくれるならいいが、様子見になる確率が高いってミオはそう言ってるわけだろ。
うん。悔しいけど、昨年がそうだったように今年もそうなる可能性が極めて高い。しかも今年は昨年に比べたら状況がまだまだ甘いの。去年は聡子が十分に追い詰められている状態だった。でも今回はまだおじに連れ去られて1日しか経ってない。しかもおじは1年間放置していたとはいえ親権を持ってるし。そんな回りくどいことなんか必要ないでしょ。そんな野郎待ち伏せてぶっ殺してやればいい。
Damn, Shion, this is, I don't think I would ever say this, but I like the way you're thinking.
しーちゃん、そんなのダメ。
But then we saw what happened with Keiichi when that happened, and Shion when she started killing people. They lost their minds. We can't have that. We need everybody to be just in good mental shape.
サトシ君はそんなのを絶対に喜ばないよ。
じゃあサトコをどうやって助ければいいんです？サトシ君に頼まれた。サトコを頼むって頼まれた。私サトコに何かあったらサトシ君に顔向けできないよ。サトコがいじめ抜かれた後じゃないと手が打てないなんて、そんなの方法じゃない。目の前で現在進行している犯罪はまず通報するの？違うでしょ。止めなきゃ。私たちの手で自ら止めなきゃ。落ち着きなよシオン。おねえ、その先本家の当主でしょ。本家の力でサトコを助けてよ。できるでしょ。サトコ一人を助けるくらいの力は十分にあるでしょうね。分かってるよ。ダム戦争で遺恨が残る北条家には一切関わらないってばあさんの方針なんでしょ。サトコがどうなろうと見て見ぬふりというのがその先本家の方針なんでしょ。沖宮の相談所に助けられなくて園崎家にも助けられないなら私がやるしかないじゃないですか。私がやるよ。
Uh-oh.
サトコを不幸にする奴はぶっ殺してやる。
Uh-oh. And
今すぐ殺してやる。この場からサトコの家まで行って刺し殺すのに
1500
かからないんだから。
There's the 1500 seconds again. How does she know about that? Why is that a thing that keeps coming up? And I fully believe Shion will do it too.
あんたたちには1500秒で何ができる？何もできないでしょ。私が助ける。私がサトコを助けるの。話してよ、話してよ。今から殺しに行くんだから。シオンさん、お静かになさい。物騒なことをこれ以上言うと怒りますよ。
They were desperately discussing how to save her. I just sat on the couch and stared at them vaguely. I had seen the same discussion many times in many different situations. I was tired of listening to it. Oh, well, I guess so much for that. I was thinking like, oh, maybe Shion is something different, but I guess not. The only difference was that everything was happening a few days earlier than usual.
リカ、大丈夫。もう何にも期待なんかしないから。期待なんてどこにも残ってない。
It is quite depressing having, control of, like, being in the POV of a protagonist who doesn't give a shit about the story anymore. Hanyu made a sad expression. I couldn't tell if she was sad about our fate or if she was taking pity on me. Just as she promised, Chie went to Sadako's house after school. It had only been a day since Sadako's uncle took her away. She wouldn't be able to tell if he'd hurt her already or not. If the students hadn't made such a big fuss about it, Chie would have waited a couple of days before going to her house. Oh no. She already knew, however, about what happened to Sadako the previous year. She also knew her uncle was abusing her just like her aunt, and that he had neglected to act as her guardian for the whole year. Considering those factors, it might not have been too soon for her to visit the Hojo residence. Sadako hadn't shown up to school that day. No one called the school to explain her absence. That alone was proof her uncle wasn't taking responsibility as her guardian. Chie was going to her house to see what was going on with her own eyes. She parked the car in the street and checked the map she brought from the school. It said Hojo residence on the sign in front of the house. Chie was certain this had to be the place. The window on the second floor was open, and she could see a curtain hanging there. From that window, she could hear the laughing voices of several older men. No one had answered the phone when she called right before leaving the school. She could also hear the clicking noise of mahjong tiles along with the voices. She had never played mahjong before, but had a pretty good idea that that's what it was from the way the men were talking. If they were playing mahjong, there must have been 3 other men inside the house. Her students had told her Sadako's uncle was a very violent man. Chie was a teacher, true, but she was also just a young lady. She felt hesitant to ring the doorbell after hearing their disgusting laughter. But courage drove her forward. Please let Chie be okay. Let nothing bad happen to her. She is sweet. I like her. She made her decision and rang the doorbell. She heard the bell ringing inside the house, but the laughing voices continued to echo from the second floor. It seemed as though they didn't hear the bell. She rang the bell again, and this time the laughter stopped for a moment. Someone must have heard the sound, but soon after they started laughing again. It didn't sound like anyone was coming to get the door. What if Chie just, like, in a fit of rage, she just killed Teppei herself, and she's like, oh, crap. Rika's like, whoa, this is new. She thought someone heard the bell, but perhaps not. Chie was sure they were home, of course. She couldn't leave just because no one was answering the door. She knocked and yelled loudly this time.
こんにちは。北条さん、いらっしゃいませんか？
Finally, the laughter stopped, and a man with a scary look on his face opened the door.
なんじゃいね踊れは。やかましかとっととうせえ。
Chie felt intimidated by him, but her heart was filled with a teacher's pride and responsibility.
こんにちは。北条さんでいらっしゃいますか？私。
Before she could introduce herself, Teppei screamed at her.
やかましか。新聞も牛乳も保険も間に合っとんねん。わしゃ今むっちゃ忙しいよ。仕事中じゃいね。
The people in the room laughed when he told her he was working. Chie wouldn't give up. She continued to speak.
私、ひなみ沢文庫教諭の知恵と申します。北条さと子さんはいらっしゃいますか？
なあ、なんじゃよ踊れ。なんで踊りにさとこ合わせにゃならんねん。
今日、北条さんが学校をお休みしましたけれど、連絡がなかったもので、何かあったのかと思いお伺いさせていただきました。
ああ、学校？
はい。さとこちゃんはいますか？ちょっとお話ししたいことがあるのですが。
ああ、風邪なんね。そうそう。さとこは風邪で熱出してるんですわ。
プリントとかをお渡ししたいので、ちょっとだけお話しすることはできませんか？
ドアホ踊れ話聞いてなかったんかい。さとこは風邪じゃ。うなっとるんね。それを合わせられるかいボケ。
Oh, I hate his voice.
そうですか。
I know it's meant to be, like, gross, and it is.
明日は登校できそうですか？
知るかいな。そんなもん明日になってみなきゃわからんわ。このクソボケ。
そうですか。わかりました。では、さとこちゃんによろしくお伝えください。失礼します。
Chie bowed, but by the time she lifted up her head, Teppei was no longer there. When Chie returned to the school, several students emerged from the classroom. They were Keiichi, Rena, Mion, and Shion. Rika was also still inside the classroom, but she wouldn't come outside.
先生、どうでしたか？さとこのとこに行ってきたんですよね。皆さん、それが聞きたくて待っていたんですか？
知恵先生、さと子はどうでしたか？無事でしたか？
それが会わせてもらえませんでした。あんた何しに行ったんですか？教師ですよ。ガキの使いじゃないんです。会えませんでした。そうですかで帰ってきちゃ意味ないじゃないですか。
I like how Shion's just been heated. Like, how long was Chie gone, and Shion has not calmed down one bit. She is always...
やめなよ、シオン。
Shion is just always on. She's at 100% all the time.
そんなこともあるだろうって予想できたことだよ。どうせさとこの顔に青あざがあるに決まってます。だから会わせられないんです。そこは無理やり押しのけても家の中に踏み入るくらいしなきゃダメなんです。
I hate to say it, but it's kind of a good thing that Mion took, Shion's place as the head of the Sonozakis, because I can imagine Shion having reign over this very powerful... It's just like she's just so reactive, and she doesn't really think things through, and it would just be a disaster.
だからもう先生なんて信用できないって言いました。本当にごめんなさい。やめなよ、しーちゃん。先生はできる範囲の最善を尽くしてくれたよ。
だがこれで本当にはっきりしたな。その里子のおじってやつが里子を家に閉じ込めているってのは どうやら間違いないみてえだ。
そんなの確かめる前から分かってます。リカちゃまがそうだって昼間からずっと言ってるじゃないですか。それを確かめるだけに半日費やしたんですよ。それでどうするんですか？どうやって聡子を助けるつもりですか？だから落ち着きなって。それをみんなで考えようよ。シオンが聡子のことを大事だと思うように私たちだって大事に思ってる。決して見殺しになんかしない。私たちにできることを考えようよ。そうですね。私はもう考えて提案しましたよ。私がたった一人で今日中に決着できるものすごくお手軽な方法です。死体を隠すとこだけお姉の力を借りますが。
Well, we know Mion's good at that.
だからしーちゃん、物騒な話をするのはやめて。しーちゃんは人殺しのことを簡単に考えすぎなの。
And Rena's just also like, also I know this, and Shion's just like, she didn't even just like water off a duck's back. Her murders, like, they were just a means to an end. She didn't let them bother her at all.
人を殺せば解決できるなんて考え方はおよそ思いつく考えの中で最低の最低、本当の最低のことなの。な
ら他に提案をしてみてくださいよ。私の提案が最低の最低なら私よりほんのちょっぴり上等な程度でいいですから代案を聞かせてください。ほらほら、何も言えないじゃないですか。私なら1500秒で聡子を救える。お姉の力なんか借りられなくてもいい。死体なんか私が引きずって鬼ヶ淵の沼にでも放り込んでやる。ほら提案してくださいよ。これより早くてすぐに聡子を救える方法を。
だからそうじゃないの。一人で悩んだらそんなことしか考えられないの。ならはっきり言ってあげるよ。1500秒かかりすぎでしょ、そんなの。
Rena's just like, you pleb, you noob. She's like, 1500 seconds? I killed someone in like 5 seconds. They were dead. Well, Rena took a little bit longer, but Tepe was just like, Rena's like, forget about that. Just hatch it to the face. I know. I've done it before. 1500 seconds? I can do it in 5.
私なら1000秒かけないわ。
Oh my god, she's...
しーちゃんなんかみたいにぐちぐち言わずに黙って教室を出て行ってもう実行してるよ。
And that's why Rena is scarier, is because Shion she's too loud and she tells everybody what she's planning on doing. Where Rena, she does it sneaky.
なんでそうしないと思う？昔、誰かに教えられたことがあるの。たとえそれしか方法がなかったとしても、殺人に訴えるのはいけないこと。正しいことじゃない。最善手なんかじゃないの。それしかないと思ってしまうことが、一人で悩むことの限界なの。
A long time ago, I don't know who told me this, but someone taught it to me. If there's something that troubles you, you can't think about it all on your own. You can't think that your own solution is the best way to conclude things.
みんなで考える。みんなで悩む。確かに、今この瞬間は、しーちゃんの短絡的な提案に対する提案をできないけど、私たちがみんなで考えれば、絶対にそれよりいい解決策が見つけられるよ。
いいとか悪いとかの問題じゃないです。1分1秒でも無駄な時間を費やせば、聡子がどんな乱暴されるか考えればいいじゃないですか。北条って性がそんなに憎らしい？サトシ君や聡子がどんなに辛くても誰も手を差し伸べないの？私が助ける。ご託なんてもうたくさん。そこをどいてよ。そこまで言うなら今から行ってくる。あいつをサクッと殺して聡子を助け出してくる。
ダメだよ、しーちゃん。しーち
ゃん、お前たちは呪ってろ。自分たちの無力さをいつまでも。そしてより集まって思いつきもしない妙案を議論し合えばいい。そうして聡子のために何かしているという免罪符を得ながら聡子を看板に見殺しにしていけばいい。あんたたちは誰も聡子のことを大事に思ってないんだ。聡子のことなんか遊び友達だとしか思ってないんだ。私は違う。
This is real rich coming from Shion.
聡子は友達以上家族だとすら思ってる。あんたたちとは聡子を大事に思う心が違うの。じゃあね、殺してくるね。さようなら。
待ちな。
何を？ 邪魔する気ですか？
Keiichi's like, no, let me give you some tips.
シオン、お前レナの言ったことが半分も理解できてねえだろ。
半分どころかお釣りが来るくらいに理解してますよ。殺しをするほんのちょっとの度胸があればすぐに救えるのに、それを綺麗事でごまかす偽善の話ですよね。
Oh, did Keiichi just have a memory of Rena doing that and he knows like, no, she's speaking from experience.
シオン、お前が人殺しをしてまでサトコを救ったとして、サトコは感謝すると思ってるのか？
感謝が欲しいわけじゃないです。別に私は差し違えてもいい。それで聡子が幸せになれるなら本望なんですから。
違うな。口先の威勢はなかなかいいが、お前には差し違える度胸なんかありゃしねえな。その証拠に、お前はさっきミオンに死体を隠すのを頼みたいようなことを言ったじゃねえか。それはつまり差し違えたくない、叔父をぶっ殺した後元の平穏な生活に戻りたいって願望の表れじゃねえか。お前が本当に望んでいる世界はついこの間までの世界、俺たちみんなが仲良く楽しく過ごしていた。だがな、お前が殺人を犯せば絶対にその世界へは戻れない。そうそう簡単に完全犯罪なんかができると思うなよ。お前は絶対に逮捕される。
Yeah, especially after you've told how many 5 people, including the teacher, of what you're intending to do?
それくらい覚悟の上です。聡子の苦しみを私が懲役で買われるなら本望です。
違うな違うな、絶対にそれは違うな。お前は自分を呪うぜ。かけてもいい。どうして自分が殺人なんて貧乏くじを引かなくちゃならなかったのか未練がましく自分を呪うんだ。そしてその時になってようやくシオンが本当に求めていたことに気がつくんだよ。それは叔父を殺すことじゃない、みんなと元の世界に戻ることだ。そしてそれは殺人を犯すことで台無しになってしまうんだよ。そしてお前が自分を呪うように聡子も自分を呪うだろうな。自分が原因でシオンが殺人を犯す羽目になったとずっと後悔すると思う。第一、お前がいなくなったら誰が聡子にカボチャを食わせるんだよ。誰が聡子と陰険なトラップの相談をするんだよ。お前だろ。園崎シオンだろ。お前が本当に目指す世界にはお前が聡子の脇にいなければダメなんだよ。そこを間違えるな。聡子のためだと錯覚して自ら取り返しのつかない間違いを犯すんじゃない。
そこまで言うならケイちゃんは聡子を救う方法を何か提案できるんですか？できないでしょ。口先だけの綺麗事で私の邪魔立てをするな。だからそこをどいて殺す。私が今から殺しに行く。
Keiichi blocked her way by standing in front of the door. Shion gave him a hateful glare, but he just sent her back a confident smile.
シオンを生かせるわけにはいかねえな。俺たちの望む世界はシオンが欠けたら成立しない。だから俺はお前を生かさないぞ。
ほう。ならケイちゃんは北条哲平をかばってるってわけですね。なら同罪だ。お前から先に頭を叩き割ってやる。
Oh shit! What is going on?
やめなよ。シオンさん、その椅子をどうするつもりですか？やめなさい。椅子を床に置きなさい。ケイちゃんがこの後に及んでまだ私が本気だって分かってないならマジで血見ます。謝んなくていいですからとっととどきやがれってんです。
シオン、確かに今この瞬間俺はよりいい提案をできない。でもそれは今思いついてないだけのことだ。俺たちはきっと聡子を助けるもっとマシな方法を考え出す。絶対にだ。絶対に俺たちが聡子を救う。だからな、信じろ仲間を。
仲間である聡子のために手を汚さない連中に聡子を仲間呼ばわりされたくないです。もう一度は言わない。そこをどきやがれ。
シオンこそ頭を冷やして考え直せ。俺たちはきっと聡子を救える。それを信じろ。だから短絡的な考えに走るんじゃない。仲間を信じろ。 仲間呼ばわりされたくないっ
I'm
て
just
なら
waiting for her to clock
俺を
him
信じろ。
in the head in the middle of his big speech. Like, usually he's able to get through to people, and Shion's just like, nope, not having it.
前原圭一が必ず貞子を救う。だからそいつにかけてみろ。
黙れ無力。お前なんか信じられるか。お前にどうやって聡子が救えるというのか。シオン。
Oh, damn, she is too? Shion threw the chair at Keiichi. It hit him hard, and the chair fell to the floor with a loud noise. But Keiichi was unfazed even after being struck. He just stood in front of the exit without even covering his face. Wait, he wasn't unfazed. A trail of blood was pouring from his forehead where the corner of the chair hurt him.
答えねえな。その程度で俺が道を譲ると思ったかよ。殺されたって俺はここをどかねえぞ。お前を生かせればシオンのいない世界になる。その世界ではいなくなったお前のことをずっと思って毎日うつむいている聡子がいるんだ。俺たちがどうやって慰めてもその場だけは元気そうにするがすぐにまたうつむいてしまう。そんな悲しい世界があるんだ。俺は聡子にそんな悲しい世界を見せたくない。俺たちが描く世界は昨日までがそうだったようにみんなで楽しく過ごして暴れて遊べるあの世界だ。
I wonder if Rika has seen this happen in one of her lifetimes.
もちろんおじの野郎なんかに二度と聡子を泣かすような真似はさせない。
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I want all of them on board. All of them putting their heads together to save Sadako. I'm so excited to see what they come up with. I just hope they succeed.
それがどういう方法なのか今この場では確かに思いついていない。でもそれは絶対に思いつく。絶対だ。だから俺を信じろ。
Shion wasn't yet convinced, but even so, she walked to the window and took her seat. Somebody rested a hand on Keiichi's shoulder. It was the principal. He had been standing there and listening to him for a while.
校長先生。
よく耐えた。千恵先生、一部始終は聞かせてもらいましたぞ。
私が至らぬばかりに申し訳ありません。
昨日の今日の出来事ではあるが、わしももはや猶予のならない事態だと思っておる。しかるべきところへすぐに連絡するべきであろう。
でも校長先生、児童相談所には過去にも相談したことがあって。どうせ助けてなんかくれませんよ。他力本願もいいとこです。
Shion raised her voice. The principal looked at Shion and started talking.
園崎シオン君、私は言葉の中で最も憎むべきものがあるのを知っている。それが何かわかるかね。今君が言ったどうせという言葉だ。どうせという言葉は戦いもせず負けを認める最も醜い言葉だ。その言葉を口にした時すでに戦いには負けておるのである。
Damn, we never see this principal, but he's pretty badass too. Like, he just seems like a good dude.
私も校長先生の意見に賛成。どんな策があるにせよ頼るべき順序があると思うの。生活相談所に相談するのは多分一番最初にするべきことなんだと思う。それでダメなら2番目の手3番目の手を考えればいい。試しもしないうちから諦めるのは私は見殺しにするのと何も変わらないと思うから。
Maybe this will get through to Rika where she's given up and they all haven't, and maybe this will set a spark under her butt, you know?
校長、もちろん通報するからには。
I don't want to be in the head of a melancholy protagonist who's just given up. I want her to, you know, have some spark to her again.
絶対聡子を助けてもらえるように言い含めてくれるんですよね。
無論だ。北条君はわしの可愛い教え子である。きっと助けてもらえるようわしにできる最善を尽くす。
児童相談所は迅速ですから今から通報すればきっと今夜にはもう動いてくれるでしょう。
それで聡子が救われればいいんだけど、もしもまた様子見なんてことになったら。
それがダメだったら次の手を考えようよ。私たちが諦めない限り絶対に聡子ちゃんを救えるんだから。
いつまでも綺麗事を言っててください。そうしてのんびりしてるうちに聡子は癒しようのない心の傷を負うんです。見殺しにしてるのはどっちなんですよ。
シオン、俺はさっき約束したからな。俺たちは絶対に聡子を救う。それもお前みたいに差し違えてでもなんて話じゃない。
He's like, we'll make that plan D.
聡子が本当に幸せになれるような最高の形で救い出してみせる。見てろ、絶対だからな。前原圭一が絶対と言ったらそれは絶対なんだ。
Shion stared out the window without looking at Keiichi's face.
園崎家の方でこの後のことは確認するよ。分かったらみんなに電話するよ。
それで無事解決すれば最高だからな。
もちろん楽観はできないね。様子見になる可能性が一番高いね。そうなったらどうする？
その時はくそ。
知恵先生、職員室に行きましょうぞ。早速電話をしましょ
ええ、よく説明しないといけません。
They left the classroom. Keiichi, Ren, and Mio got together and discussed their other options. Shion was looking down and crying. Rika was just vaguely looking at them as if staring at a boring TV drama. Okay, so all of that must have happened, even the chair throwing, like not even fazed by it. Nothing will change. The Child Consultation Center will put her case on hold. I've seen it so many times in previous lives. I almost hope that they take her into custody just this once. But I have no more coins left to gamble on a hope like that. In a previous life, Keiichi killed Sadako's uncle, but Shion was not there when that happened. When she is, I suppose she's the one who will take on that role. Their pathetic hopes will be crushed by tomorrow morning. The social worker will be at her house tonight, but Sadako will deny that she's being abused. Her uncle will assume she was the one who called the service, and he'll abuse her even more. She will come to school tomorrow because he doesn't want the Child Consultation Center to be suspicious of him. We will feel more and more hopeless when we see the dead look in Sadako's eyes. I've been living for more than 100 years, but I've never defeated this fate. The fate of her uncle's return. I was blessed with so much luck, and I thought I could defeat it this time. But in the end, it all came down to the same thing. It was a waste of energy to put in any effort. It was worthless. All worthless. The more I thought about this inescapable fate, the more I pitied these people for talking endlessly about how they were going to save Sadako. Damn. Well, I still want to have a little hope in my heart. Maybe Reek and I will be surprised when something does change. Teppei returned to Hinamizawa to escape some trouble. He'd have to stay there for the rest of the summer, perhaps the whole year, and see what happened. For him, the house in Hinamizawa was like a rather dull hiding place. His lover Rina had suddenly disappeared. Rumors told him she was involved with some dangerous deal. Okay, so it wasn't him. Some source even told him that she'd already been caught and killed. Everyone also assumed he knew everything about what Rina did. They were convinced he got money by tricking her into doing something, and as a result some dangerous men came after him. That made it difficult for him to stay in Okonomiya. More than anything, it pissed him off to find out that Rina was cooking up something behind his back with some other guys. Oh wait, that reminds me, yes, there was a body of a woman found in a drain pipe like a couple of chapters ago. I think that was her, wasn't it? Hinamizawa was about the only place he could go. He couldn't go back to the house where he used to live with his wife, as it had been abandoned since he moved into Sadako's house. Besides, he didn't even have the key to his old place. But if he went to Sadako's house, she should still be there and she could clean and cook for him, too. Teppei didn't know how to cook or clean, and he certainly wasn't thinking of learning. Rina had often been rebellious towards Teppei. He had often said he wanted to be with someone more loyal, like a pet. For Teppei, Sadako was exactly what he wanted. Ugh. It's just, gross seeing it from his point of view, and he's just as gross as, from us looking at from the outside. Sadako was still a little kid. Ugh, she can't satisfy him sexually, but he can at least make her wash his back. Ugh, all the yucks. All the yucks. Sadako's dead mother used to be a pretty woman. Sadako might grow up to be a pretty lady herself in about 4 or 5 years. Ew, the ickiness. Teppei headed back to Hinamizawa with these indecent thoughts in his head. Oh, God, as if you couldn't make him more disgusting. The house was locked, so he assumed she was at the market for grocery shopping. He found her at the store and dragged her back home. However, the house was full of dust. She'd been living at her friend's house for the past year, and the house had been abandoned. Teppei exploded in anger. He told her it was her responsibility to keep the house in order. He beat her and kicked her down to the floor. Eventually, Sadako's expression returned to what he remembered from 1982. Sadako started obeying him immediately and cleaned up the house. A new place to hide with a new girl. His new life was starting out pretty good. Ugh. Teppei called his buddies to show off his new beginning and ended up playing mahjong with them. He bragged about his new pet and made her serve them food and drinks. He told her to walk on all fours like a real pet. Oh my god, she refused, but she obeyed immediately when he tried to hit her. Everyone was laughing and they were all jealous of him. Like, I guess like hangs out with like, but it's just like, oh, how do you get, like, you have one disgusting person and then to have a group of other people who agree with what you're doing, abusing this little girl. Like, how is that possible? And I know this happens in real life and it's disgusting. Teppei felt real good about himself. However, someone arrived to interrupt this perfect life.
私、ひなみざわ文庫教諭の千恵と申します。北条さと子さんはいらっしゃいますか?
He thought someone was at his door to sell insurance or something, but it was a school teacher.
ああ、なんじゃよ踊れ。なんで踊れにさとこ合わせにゃならんね。
今日、北条さんが学校をお休みしましたけれど、連絡がなかったもので、何かあったのかと思いお伺いさせていただきました。
ああ、学校？
はい、さとこちゃんはいますか？ちょっとお話ししたいことがあるのですが。
ああ、風邪なんね。そうそう。さとこは風邪で熱出しとるんですわ。
プリントとかをお渡ししたいので、ちょっとだけお話しすることはできませんか？
ドアホ。踊れ話聞いてなかったんかい。さとこは風邪じゃ。うねっとるね。それ合わせられるかいバカ。
This was going to cause him problems, Teppei realized. Sadako was just a pet for him, and he had no intention of sending her to school. But her teacher had shown up at his house just because she missed one day. This wasn't good. Teppei hates schools, and he really hates teachers. Well, I hate to say, maybe the fact that people are jumping on this quickly, maybe this will change something slightly. Maybe he'll take it easy on her, at least for a bit, enough for people to be able to save her.
そうですか。
Because they reacted too slowly last time, but like they're right on it. Day one, they are like onto him.
知るかいなそんなもん。明日になって見なきゃわからんわ。このクソボケ。
そうですか。わかりました。では、さとこちゃんによろしくお伝えください。失礼します。
He was able to get rid of the teacher, but it would create more problems if he didn't send Sadako to school tomorrow. Teppei didn't need even more trouble on his place. That meant he couldn't beat up Sadako like he wanted to. Okay, little things here, and then they're going to be visiting. If the Child Consultation Center is going to be visiting tonight, maybe he'll think the teacher called rather than Sadako because she's been around him all day. She hasn't had a chance to call, I assume, like he hasn't kept her out of his sight. So he's going to be like, oh shit, the teacher's onto me, and has called, so now he's going to be even more on edge and maybe even more careful, so maybe this will save Sadako. Violence was the only way he knew how to communicate. With that out of the picture, it was very difficult for him. He wanted to beat up Sadako, but that would leave evidence on her body. If that happened, he wouldn't be able to send her to school. And if she didn't go to school, that teacher would show up at his doorstep again. Shit. Oh, that just goes to show you, it's like she always being on like, that you didn't make any difference. Nothing happened, nothing changed, but little things are changing. Well, here we go. On top of all that, the Child Consultation Center paid a visit to his house that night. The teacher must have filed a report. Yes! He doesn't think it's Sadako. So now he's got to be even more careful. That bitch, Teppei thought. Next time I'll beat her in the face so hard she'll need plastic surgery. Since Sadako was afraid of him, she pretended she really was sick when the social worker visited. It was so easy for Teppei to control her. He considered Sadako to be a convenient pet, but at the same time he'd need to be careful at the consultation center. Oh, this is good. This is good. Okay, we're having some positive things here. Yes. Alright, guys, so, man, what an interesting episode this was. My emotions were all over the place, I guess, along with Rika, where it's just like, you know, Sadako's uncle coming back. Oh shit, everything's falling apart. Seems like it's not going to end well, but we're seeing it ended on a little bit of hope, and that's what we need right now. So let's hope we can, well, keep this hope going. And let's hope. I keep saying hope because I want to hope that things will work out. Right now I'm concerned about Sadako. Sorry, Rika, no offense, but we'll worry about you after Watanagashi. Right now, let's just hope that they come up with a plan to save Sadako, and then from there we'll worry about Rika. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This was really interesting. Some really, you know, I don't want to say awesome things happen because that's terrible, but like it was nice to have, you know, not just everything be super positive, because it's like you need to have a little bit of conflict in the story to make it interesting. But it seems like there might be some positive resolutions. We'll just have to see. I'm going to stop babbling. I just really liked what happened in this episode. I just can't wait to see what happens next. So thank you guys once again for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye.